How to become the Eternal Weekend Legacy Champion, you might ask? Well, what would be better than asking the champion himself? Eternal Weekend Prague is in the books, and we have the honor to talk to Johan Larsson today to tell us about his experience of this amazing event. So, if you want to get first-hand insights and experience of this event, you might want to stay. So, this is In Response,
a Legacy podcast. I'm Philipp Klein.
I am Daniel.
And I'm Peter Plank.
And we're talking about Legacy.
Most of the time.
You are listening to In Response, a Legacy podcast. A show where three handsome guys talk about their favorite Magic the Gathering format, Legacy.
I'm Peter Plank, the Artificer. I've got everything at hand in my Goblin Welders toolbox.
I'm Daniel, the Scientist. I ponder precisely about the next move that decides the fate of my opponents.
I'm Philipp Klein, the Rogue. I use the graveyard to fuel opponents with agony.
And now, lean back and enjoy.
Exactly. And today we have a great pleasure to introduce Johan Larsson today. He is recently just been has claimed the title of the Eternal Weekend Legacy Champion, and it's an honor to talk to him today about his experience and for all of the events that happened in the last amazing weekend. And Johan Larsson is pretty well known. If you had a look at some MTGO results in the last couple of months and weeks, I think it's hundreds of 5-0s and challenge results at this point. So very exciting. And it will be very exciting to talk to Johan today. So, of course, Johan, very welcome to our show. And first of all, to get started, I want to ask you, how are you feeling right now after this event, this weekend happening of Eternal Weekend?
Amazing in mind, not so much in body, perhaps. I've caught a bad cold right after the event, so...
oh, no.
That's unfortunate.
I guess the combination of not enough sleeping and a lot of people in that room. But mentally, it feels super great to have won the event and to get all the congratulations and all that stuff. And it's like it is the biggest event in the year in Europe. And to win that is awesome.
That's I've definitely figured that. So what we can already see in your background, you have one of your trophies that you got is the One Ring big card in the background, which is very nicely shown there. I think this is something that just shows. I mean, I think the biggest value would be in the promos that you got also, right? They both got the crop rotation and the foil crop rotation as well, right?
Yes. Show us them.
It's amazing. But of course, being just the title, the champion is of course very nice overall.
Yeah. The title and being able to call yourself European Legacy Champion is perhaps bigger than any monetary prizes. Well, they're of course nice as well, but
absolutely. And we want to talk to you today a little bit on, of course, what happened in this weekend, and we want to, of course, also get to know you. And if for our listeners, of course, who don't know you yet, we want to, of course, also want to know how you got into Magic. This is definitely interesting for somebody. I think there was one cast that you did a couple of days before the Eternal Weekend. I think it was Chrono Moon who invited you to play a League of Breakfast. You mentioned there that you played Legacy since 2014, and I think Legacy since 1 year after that. And you tipped your toes into Devon, Texas in the beginning. And interesting would be how did you make the transition from Devon, Texas to Breakfast in the end? How was the story basically lined up in the past?
Yeah, so I started playing Devon, Texas because I started Magic in total with the Modern Event deck that had close quarter, and then I saw GP New Jersey in late 2014 Wasteland, and it was like, oh shit, what does this do? Just destroys the land, and they don't get search. So that's when I started to get cards for Death and Taxes, which I then it was my first Legacy deck. I played it for quite a bit. Played it in GP Prague in 2016, for example. But around that time, I also started to get the cards for Miracles. Because I wanted to have more things to play. And got Miracles almost complete. But then the thing that happened in 2016 was that I went away to start studying in Lund, in southern Sweden. I'm from Stockholm. And while there, my Legacy playing became much more sporadic. Well, back in Stockholm, I'd play like every weekly event. Which at that time was Wednesday and Dragon Slayer. But in Lund, so then I kind of like lost pace with the metagame. I played a bit here and there in Malmö in southern Sweden, which is very close, but not regularly. It was at this time though that I started to play some on Magic Online. I started to play Storm in Legacy and the Paradoxical Outcome in Vintage a bit. But then, like after the pandemic in 2 years ago now, I was like, yeah, now I have to come back a bit more. And then I looked around and what deck I kind of wanted to play. And at that time, the Cephalid Breakfast version, which really spoke to me, was the version with 8 Wilds and Baleful Strixes. So that is the kind of the connection to both the blue decks I played and to Death and Taxes in that is an 8 Wild deck. And 8 Wild is a card that I really loved, and still really do.
But it's just really unplayable at the moment. Very, very unfortunate. Because I also started out with Death and Taxes as my first Legacy deck back in 2012. And I played it also like 2016 when I switched things up. And yeah, drawing cards is a hell of a drag.
It is. And having Force of Will too. I mean, there is something about it.
Suddenly you're safe from things you couldn't do anything before. It's a strange feeling.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, so basically this was roughly 2 to 3 years ago where you picked up Cephalid Breakfast more regularly. Yeah. And I mean, you've been crushing it online. I mean, I don't know, if you look up the results, I mean, there's like hundreds of different results. You've been really, you can call yourself an expert on a deck at this point. And coming now a little bit to, let's say, the preparation phase of Eternal Weekend, how did you actually prepare for the event? In that sense, was Breakfast like absolute choice? You definitely will play it for the tournament, or did you decide between multiple decks, for example?
I was pretty sure that I was going to play Breakfast from the start. I considered it slightly to borrow some credits and play the Nod version, the Elves version. I played that online a bit. A few reps with it, but I mean, I really like playing Breakfast. It's that's another thing with kind of doing well. It's extra fun when you do well with something that's really your deck. Yeah, the thing is when there's a large tournament and you're playing a deck, it's so nice to just being able to play on like 3/5 of the brain capacity. And have like just auto-make decisions, which is something I can do with Cephalid Breakfast. I mean, I can play with that deck much more in intuition and save the brain capacity for like the really important ponders or really like there were absolutely moments where I really had to think. But it being a deck I knew well really helped in saving mental capacity, which is needed in a big event.
One question to join in here is like, you did most of your testing online on MTGO. Have you done a lot of paper testing? Because like the combo turns with Nado are, or especially Nado, are quite interesting.
I made not much explicit testing in paper. Like I played paper events every week. Not all of them with this deck even, but then I played the Swedish Championship like a month ago. With the deck, it's a few cards different, but yeah, with the Zeppelin Breakfast. But I did not have like make testing sessions or anything like that. I had some theory crafting that's led to me having the 3 endings in the main deck as a way to beat Vexing Bauble by still being a good card against all Nado decks and all blue back decks. But yeah, the real test for me is like just jamming a bunch of games of Magic Online.
Okay, so that's what your process for the preparation really looked like, just jamming Modo League after Modo League and rely on digital testing basically as the only source of preparation. Am I right?
Yeah, it's the main source at least. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But you briefly mentioned that you played the split of 3 Swords to Plowshares and 3 Prismatic Endings as a way to hedge a little bit on the Vexing Bauble rising from the last Eternal Weekend. Of course, Mystic Forge, one of the big performing decks. Besides that, were there some other considerations where you tweaked your deck list a little bit before the tournament, or was everything almost set in stone like the last couple of weeks?
Many things were kind of set in stone the last couple of weeks. For example, I freeze Force and Negations in the sideboard. That's another adaptation to not just Mystic Forge decks, but other combo decks like Doomsday and Storm, which used to be a great matchup back when I played 2 Ormstrong main, but now it's much more even. So that was a thing, a decision made well in advance. But for example, the Tamayo in the board, the idea comes from Max Darishinavi from Eternal Weekend, but that was actually supposed to be a consigned to memory. I just had forgot that I only had one of my own and could borrow another. So at the event, like I was, okay, can I buy a consigned to memory somewhere? Okay, no. So I only managed to get 2, and I knew the Teferi was good, so that became that card.
Daniel also searched for his consigned to memory.
I can feel that. Yeah, I wanted to get
it.
Yeah, there were not too many vendors, and they were all out of stock during the day.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
I mean, they didn't have really stock to begin with. They had nothing with them, just high-end reserved list cards. Yeah, it's on the one hand it's nice, on the other hand it's like, well, it's maybe not that great to don't have these kind of very sought after sideboard cards for an event, because they would be flying off the shelves basically.
Yeah, they could overcharge enormously if they had brought consigns.
Yeah,
totally. I don't get it, but yeah, whatever.
Okay, so a couple of tweaks that you made on the sideboard for your deck list, and then basically, since you have a lot of experience with the deck beforehand, and now, like when you thought of, okay, I'm going to enter the tournaments, did you think about or have in mind some matchups that you think were still problematic with the deck? Or is this something that you feel comfortable playing against most of the decks of the field?
I feel comfortable playing against the entire field. There are absolutely cards which I really dislike. Blood Moon, for example, which the Zeppelin Breakfast deck has absolutely terrible mana. It can withstand Wasteland, but absolutely not Blood Moon. I was fortunate to dodge Blood Moon all day. The only red deck I played was the Storm guy. I don't remember the name now, from Germany, who came in top 4. But that was the only red deck the entire tournament. But otherwise, I feel Mystic Forge is fine. Other Nordic decks are great matchups. Blue-black mid-range is fine. Reanimator is fine as well. They have not draws, but those are hard to do much about.
Yeah, I think if I know the data correctly, apparently, because I'm like the Painter guy, Painter was actually one of the harder matchups actually for Nado decks and Nado Breakfast. So how was your experience playing specifically or preparing specifically for matchups that seem to be on the harder side?
Yeah, I mean, Painter was a matchup. I did not really like plan explicitly for Painter in the one way, because one of the things I did was to follow the example from Maxinari and remove the Serenities from the sideboard, which actually makes the Painter matchup much worse. So like sometimes you don't really take every matchup into consideration. The matchups I really fought deeply about was blue-black mid-range and Reanimator, Mystic Forge combo, and other Nado decks, both mid-range and the Natural Order versions.
Yeah.
The rest really
makes sense to tune your deck according to the expected metagame, basically.
For sure, yeah.
And yeah, for this now, before we head into the section, what we just like to do is to thank our patrons. So thank you very much to Christian Neutz, Moritz Eichmeier, and Matt Duncan for supporting our show. And of course, you can also be a patron if you want to join it. It's patreon.com/response_legacy. And we have some new news that we can share with you. So we will start a short giveaway. It's giveaway time now. And we will post the link into the show notes and also in our YouTube channel for a in-response survey. We want to get your feedback of the show and the cast, what we can improve on. And that would be very great. If you want to participate, just check the link out, fill out the questions. And if you are one of the participants of this survey, you can win a nice gift that we give away, which is one of our In Response t-shirts.
Whoa!
Like that
awesome.
Peter is holding now.
Peter, do it like that.
We will give away this. Just check out the link in the bottom of the show notes or the In Response YouTube video. So,
or you can find it on Twitter.
Exactly.
On response_legacy.
Okay, perfect. With that out of the way, now let's continue a little bit on and focus on the tournament now for the Eternal Weekend itself. So overall, what you ended up with was a record of 9-1-1. So only one loss and one draw. Assuming I think you did intentional draw in the last round, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah. So overall, amazing record. So I'm just curious, what was the only loss that you had in the whole Swiss?
It was the 10th round where I was the 9-0. Mm-hmm. It was down paired against Reanimator, who was at 8-0-1. So he couldn't draw. Gatsbo, Michel, I think his name is.
Okay.
Italian player. And they are actually that I need to talk a bit about that match because that game one of that match was really interesting. So it's kind of a grind fest, a bit back and forth. until he eventually gets Frog, discard Atraxa, reanimate Atraxa. But he only finds absolute trash with it. He finds a 4th stage, basically. And I have Shuko in play. I know I have Ponder on top. I have a couple of lands, and I have an ending in hand. And so I'm super dead next turn, unless I win. And I have one Narcomoeba in the graveyard, which I had played earlier and tried to block frogs and stuff. Or if it might have come in from Illusionist, I don't remember that. But one Illusionist, one Narcomoeba was in the graveyard, so only one left in the deck. I note winning with Shuko requires you to have the 2 Narcomoebas, plus the Cephalid Illusionist. So whatever. I know I at least I did not see him having any interaction. He's tapped out. So I draw my Ponder into a Brainstorm, find the Illusionist. Ooh. I have green mana up and for Memory's Journey and still able to play it. And the line here, of course, is to Memory's Journey back the Narcomoeba to the deck. But I missed that. My line I thought up in my head was like, I'm gonna Memory's Journey, the Fastest Oracle, and try to block with Narcomoeba on your thing, and hopefully you don't jump Frog, so I can block. So had I just not seen it, and I realized the moment he picked up my graveyard and said, "Am I missing something?" I was like, "No, it's me who's missing something." And then game 2 there, I just got crushed.
Okay. Oh wow! So actually, you could have 10-0'd basically. Let's say in theory, or or 10-1.
In theory, sure, but that was game 1. I still have to win another one.
Exactly. Yeah, of course. Let's say in theory, I mean, there was a line for you to. I mean, this is crazy. Actually, I didn't even think about this. That you can just Memory's Journey back your Thassa, your Narcomoeba also, and get it back into play.
So you can actually Cabal Therapy and then put back the Thassa, or are you not on Cabal Therapy anymore?
No Cabal Therapy at all. Okay. So, and I can just say the reason for there being no Cabal Therapy is that one, there's too much grave hate around. The Cabal Therapy is very bad against, for example, Thermacabre. It's great versus Consign and Endurance, but I'm kind of fine with anyway. I didn't lose to Consign all tournament. And the Memory's Journey is like super flexible. With Patience and Force Will, it's grave hate. It's just great.
Yeah, Memory's Journey. When I'm speaking as an all spells player, Memory's Journey is the card that really makes this deck tick, and I can probably feel the same for Breakfast. I'm pretty sure that this deck wouldn't be there if it wasn't for Memory's Journey. This card is so insane.
As the painter player, I have to agree. Memory's Journey is one hell of a card. It makes the Breakfast, Nado, and matchup so much harder.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, so this is of course one the overall still amazing record for the Swiss rounds, and pretty easily locked it for the top 8 at this point. So if I remember correctly, and then in the quarterfinals.
Oh, can I chime in?
Yes.
Just one quick question, because we all know that the top 8 had to be played out on the next day.
Yeah.
And you said beforehand something like you couldn't really sleep that well. So how was that night for you? You knew you were into top 8, and you knew you had elimination rounds on the next day to play. Were you nervous?
Not really. Like a bit the day before, but I mean my tournament preparation is usually to be just slightly hungover, enough hungover to not be nervous and to like not overthink stuff. So I slept well. I just didn't sleep for very long. That's
Okay.
it's probably
So you had some beers in the night as
yeah. We were. I mean, the day was super long, so I had a late dinner and then a few beers. So nothing extreme. Like I was home at like 1 or something.
Okay, that's reasonable time actually.
But had you access to the deck lists in the night? Actually, the opposings?
There were somewhere, but I never like bothered looking them up very much. I mean, I'm playing against Blue Black Reanimator. I know that deck like well enough to like. I don't know what's going to surprise me. Like in Orc, and I get to look at the deck list before we like draw our sevens.
But so you haven't done like specific testing against the exact version, because like when Proto players go to the top 8 on the next day, it's like extensive testing with testing partners in the night before. So you're basically the classic Eternal player going out, drinking a few beers, sleeping well, and then looking at the deck list 5 minutes before.
Yeah, and I look after that day with 11 rounds. I was not going to like sit down and play Magic in a just no.
I feel you, Tom. My brain was just smashed after 11 rounds of playing, and I can't fathom myself playing a deck for 11 rounds that has so many lines, that is so intricate, and that takes quote unquote so long to finish a game. It's insanely hard. I mean, my games were pretty much over in 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. I think only one match went to time. So I had plenty of rest between rounds. I had plenty of time to pick myself up and to relax a little bit. But I don't see how control players, or I mean, Breakfast is a combo deck, but it's also very grindy and it can be very mid-rangey. So I think that has really taken a strong toll on your mental well-being. I mean, I can imagine that.
Yeah, and there were definitely. I had a few groundy rounds. Went to time ones versus Mono Black Goif Aggro of all things, and had a real grind fest, or perhaps grind fest is the wrong word, but real strange game versus True Futurism on
Clubhost.
Post. Yeah. Where I won. He actually was mana screwed in both game 1 and 3, but still had like enough interaction to stop me from actually comboing. So it's to win with the beat, and it was the medium beats, which won once and stuff.
Narcomoeba.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I used to play a little bit of Breakfast also myself, and I definitely remember winning 1 or 2 games with just Narcomoeba beats. It's sometimes this deck also manages to do that.
It's enough.
It's enough.
Yeah. Thankfully, most rounds were quite short, or at least reasonably short.
Okay, that's good.
So now we can head into the quarterfinals. Sorry for interrupting.
Exactly. So you already mentioned that you played against Reanimator in the quarterfinals. And I think, if I remember correctly, there was no stream on that. So we have no idea how this went.
I mean, you won.
That's
we know that,
obviously, but of course it would be. Was it easy, or was it a tough matchup, or
It is a tough matchup, I think. I mean, an even matchup. Game 1, they don't have much removal. They're like 2 pushes. So the combo plan is very, very good, especially when you're on the play, which I was, since I was second seed. And off the board is a bit of a dance of how much removal do you need, how much grave hate do you need, how much of your combo do you need. Like those 3 part.
On that, are you a player who then usually boards lightly in some matchups, or do you really board heavily into your interaction pieces after sideboarding? Because you have the option to go lower on the combo and more on the interaction, of course, after sideboarding. Is this something that you usually do? Or are you more on, okay, I still want a combo on games 2 and 3 consistently, for example?
It depends on the matchup and sometimes also on the opponent. I'm generally don't really like boarding out the combo. There are some matchups where I do it. Blue-black mid-range, I usually board out the combo, at least the illusionist part of the combo, and the Narcomoeba and Red Return. But keep Oracle and the Nodus, of course. But I usually don't like to over sideboard. But an example in the Reanimator matchup specifically is like some people keep all their entombs, some people keep 2 entombs, some people keep 0 entombs. Against someone who keeps 0 entombs, you can. It's much more likely that you want to have Teferius and perhaps not as many Force of Wills, and then your illusionists are generally much worse as well because they usually have like bow monsters and stuff. So you kind of need to get the vibe. Well, first selection in game 1, like how aggressive are they on their entombs, and then mostly like how they actually sideboard game 2. Like if you see that this person has multiple entombs, you.
How do you feel the blue-black player has to play the matchup? Because like I have the expectance that you both kind of have to behave as the combo deck, so especially like blue-black Reanimator to keep in the big punches, or is it the wrong way in your opinion?
I think for the blue-black deck, it's scariest when they force you to have it in a way. Like they play their turn 2 reanimation, they play their turn 2 frog, forces me to have removal or graveyard hate. Now I don't play that much graveyard hate. It's 4 pieces plus the Rebel's Journey, and I forced to keep a lot of hands which doesn't have graveyard hate at all. At least I will at least keep many hands that does not have a graveyard hate. So I'd say like trying to go for a big upside is generally worth it.
So if you're reading your opponent from the first game, do you think they're more likely to board out the combo if they're going more aggressive on the combo route in the first game? Or is it directly the opposite?
I would say the opposite there, but I would not really like in too much into that. Like the difference, someone who's really kind of jammy personality in terms of how to play, I will perhaps keep a force extra. That would be the. Because I would usually like to board out like 1 or 2 forces.
Okay.
At least when I'm on the play and have days.
Well, that's fair, yeah.
I think this is some great matchup advice for anybody who wants to pick up the deck and how to play against the Reanimator in that sense. So obviously you won your quarterfinals.
Yeah.
And you then in the semis you played against this Nadu Elves actually deck, which was on stream, and I think it lasted only 2 games because you just won 2-0, I think, pretty easily. Yeah. And I think what I noticed there when watching it, that you had a couple of situations, I think in both games, where you could just go for the combo, but of course you anticipated in one hand endurance, for example, as interaction or a removal spell after sideboarding, and it really shows. Especially in one situation, there was 1 card in hand in game 2, from what I remember, and the question was, of course, do you go for the combo and lose to a Swords to Plowshares? But I think you chose not to do it, and the opponent actually had the singleton source to Blauschat in the end. It really shows that patience in that sense was really paying off. So is this a matchup that you played a lot in the past also? And because you actually exactly knew when to play around which card, basically.
Yeah, it's a matchup I played a bit. I played a bit from the other side as well. Yeah, I mean, in game one, it was super obvious that he had, not super, but it was quite obvious that he had endurance. Like another else player passing the turn, doing nothing turn one on the draw. Like, why did you keep that hand? So I had the turn 2 combo there, and a bunch of ponders and an Archimedes, I think. So I was about to actually cast the Illusionist, but I was thinking like I would not actually combo, but pass the turn, and then. But then I decided to ponder instead and found the Oracle, Nadu, and land. And now I can just win on turn 4 with Oracle. But I actually made a mistake too, because I that ponder. And then I used my second ponder and shuffled when I saw 2 lands and a Nadu. And the reason for that was I kind of wanted some interaction on turn 3. But in hindsight, I should probably have kept that and just slam Nadu turn 2. So I had nomads to play. But thankfully, my opponent didn't do anything scary on his turn, turns 2 and 3. So I could win on turn 4. Yeah, and in game 2, he had 1 card in hand. I was thinking whether it is Consign, is it Fair Macabre, is it Source of Plowshares? There were the 3 cards I had on my radar.
Do you sometimes wish you had Cabal Therapy in there?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I do, but like, for example, in that game, I still couldn't have used it because I had Narcomoeba in hand. I mean, if I would play Cabal Therapy, I would play 3 Narcomoebas instead of 2, but I really don't miss it generally. I mean, it's also about like it would make the mana much worse, and as the mana in this deck is quite bad already.
Yeah, I can see this.
Yeah, being 4-color and supporting Urza Saga is an impossible task.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, so Nado Elves as semifinals beaten.
So you're the better Nado deck.
But this
well, in the mirror, I mean, we're equally fast, and I have much more interaction, so it's
true. Yeah. And then there comes the big finals, and I gotta say, I mean, I watched it on stream, and I have to say, I can't even recall what all happened during these 3 games, because it was such a grind fest. Actually, it was an amazing match, I have to say. What memories do you have for this match, basically, in hand for these finals?
Well, I remember, I remember how I kind of felt during the match. I mean, I felt good at first, especially when I tried in game 1 to resolve a Nadu. I had a Force of Will plus another Nadu in hand, so I'm like, okay, if I draw a blue card, I will. But that was actually kind of a mistake, because he was kind of tapped out and had used the Force already. So I should probably force pitch Nadu instead. Well, I'm not sure actually, because he only had 1-off sweeper, and of course he had it in hand at that point. But then, like, the first phase of the game was me trying to do something.
Yeah.
And then I was still somewhat optimistic. And then it became a scenario where he tried to play a few things. He played a Frog, a Hull Breacher, and a Northet. But I had the answer for that. So then we came into some kind of stalemate where we both had like 7-8 lands in play. And at that point I was kind of scared, because he can play instant speed with the Masters and hull breachers and stuff, while I cannot.
You wish that the NATO had the flash text. Am I right?
Instead of flying, way better.
Yeah, but like then he actually goes for stuff for. He plays an R set, which I have to force will. We have a fight over that, and then he goes for a Bowmaster into the cool land he plays, where you both draw and discard, which was part of his deck. I mean, his deck is really cool.
Absolutely.
I'm putting it together too.
Yes.
Sanitarium?
Yes.
Sanitarium.
Yes.
Yeah.
Combination of Bowmasters.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And Narset and Hull
And
Breacher.
So it starts doing that in my end step. Takes his turn, but then I draw Nardo. Previously I have Illusionist and Nomads in hand, and an ending. I draw the Nardo and like, okay, this is the turn to do something. He doesn't have very many cards in hand, and I can. I had a Cabinet of Souls in play, so like I can make my Nardo uncomfortable. So in that situation, I first had to ending his Bowmaster, so he couldn't ping me from the loot. Then I played the Illusionist as the bait creature, and played the Nomad to force the bait. And he had one removal spell. And I got the Narcomoeba, which is great when you're Nardoing. And then I played Nardo, and that was fine. He didn't have the second removal. And from there, the game was easy. And I had Oracle left in my deck, so he was forced to like use this.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this was also mentioned by the commentary and stream, and it's absolutely true. This situation is really heads-up play, because it really matters if you can't play effectively around removal. In that case, you have to decide, okay, what part of the combo do I want to have remaining on my battlefield? And in that case, you wanted Nomads instead of Illusionist, because you had the Nardo in hand as a backup.
Yeah.
And of course, then in that sense, sequencing of what creatures you play first matters quite a bit.
Yeah, because the other one gets sorted, am I right?
Exactly, yeah. In response, obviously, if you have the Illusionist in play and you
then you play the Nomads, then the Illusions get sorted, and then you can play Nardo. If you do it the other way around, if you play the Nomads first, then Illusions, your Nomads get sorted.
Yeah.
And then your Nardo does nothing. Okay.
Exactly.
I see. I like that.
Yeah, it all matters
So
if you are playing around.
I must say that a secret tech with Illusionist is that it actually can't bring a Nardo with its ability. The 3 mana once per turn is a bit worse than 0 mana and the amount of time.
True. It can happen, and this is some kind of hidden text that sometimes matters. Also, if you want to, I think it prevents damage. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, I have blocked Grizzly Browns with Narcomoebas and then prevent damage, attack back.
Exactly. It's relevant. Okay, and how did game 2 you lost because of, I think it was like just Narset's Days Undoing in the end.
Yeah, I mean that was the very end. I mean, there were center turns I had Nord in play with 2 because he had a artifact, I think Damping Matrix.
Yeah.
Activated abilities of artifacts and creatures that are not mana abilities cannot be activated. But he also had 2 frogs, so I was like not super mad that he played it at that time, because that meant his frogs couldn't jump and I could block it with constructs. There were like a lot of play with his 2 frogs, but he has managed to have the answers for my creatures and get through his store triggers.
Yeah.
And then eventually the Narset into Days Undoing.
That just hurt.
That happens, and For the third game, though, I think this was very swingy back and forth at some point. From what I only remember this from, I think it was that game. Please correct me if I'm wrong. You really had this game plan of assembling multiple construct tokens,
Yeah.
And I think it was, you had him, I think, on 2 life already. Next time he would be dead. And it was just the opponent just needing to find basically a sweeper. And it was, I think, one of the last ponders that he had, and he got to find pest control. If I remember.
He was empty in hand and drew Brainstorm and drew Brainstorm into pest control.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was a really tight match. I've started on the play, taking a mulligan, which is not great versus the control deck. I didn't feel great, but my hand was good. I had Illusionist, Double Saga, Lands, and I don't know, Ponder or Brainstorm something. So and pondered into Nadu early. Then he fought Sistit, which is kind of sad. So I remember thinking a bit like, should I fetch away these 2 lands, which I don't need because I have 2 lands plus 2 sagas? Should I hide the Nadu for a turn? But it's so annoying because his deck list is so full of one-offs. And like 1 days, which got me real bad in. He had 1 Fortis in main. Yeah, it was so many ones. It's just hard to like plan around those in a good way. Yeah, but anyway, he takes the Nadu. I trap away the lands. Then I start to play the Saga. But he is really playing very many lands himself. Like I get the sense that he's weak on mana. But that's when I like decide to I'm going to slow roll the second Saga, and I'm going to make as many construct tokens as I can. And the moment that really told me that is when he used the first removal spell on the first construct token. Yeah. That's a real sign of weakness in the matchup.
Because suddenly the gates are open for the combo.
Yeah. I just decided like, okay, I'm going to make 4 Saga tokens. And then he had some Bowmaster blocking. He actually managed to get the Bowmaster Sanctum combo, which could have started actually killing my 2 remaining constructs in combat damage. But I had 2 endings in hand, so I first ending one of the Bowmasters. He had 2 Bowmasters in play, then the token. And then he had the sweeper. Then was like, I for sure thought I was going to win. And like, okay,
game is not ended.
Yeah, I have a Brainstorm in hand at least. Brainstorm find 2 more lands, and I find 1 more land. I draw a land for turn, find a land, Source of Plowshares, Nomad with the Brainstorm. So I'm Brainstorm locked with sure 1/1, but he's on 2, but he has a lot of removal and Bowmasters and stuff. No, his Bowmasters are gone, but there's a lot of removal. He has the Hull Breacher, which makes me glad that I have the Plow. And then eventually I find Nadu, and from there, easy sailing. Yeah. And it was, he actually found a removal for the Nadu eventually, but I just like, I got to win with Dread Return on Oracle, the old-fashioned way. Not so old-fashioned, but
win with style and as the deck was intended. Absolutely. And then you won the Total Weekend Legacy event, yeah?
So congratulations from us, because that's basically the biggest thing that you can win in Magic, in Legacy.
Yeah, and besides Eternal Weekend, we actually have, I kind of want to call it here, sister tournament series in Europe as well. And with you winning the Eternal Weekend Legacy portion, you are now qualified for the European Legacy Masters 2025 in Belgium as well. Yeah, you are as well.
I didn't know that. I played that. That's a super fun tournament. I played it for Sweden last year, not this year.
So you're qualified again.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, so no, it's good to be back.
Looking forward to see you in Belgium.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, so with this, of course, wrapping up, we have one or two remaining questions that would be interesting for me. I'm now basically hooked again on breakfast, I have to say. Pretty much I'm convinced, because I played this for a long time, but then I took other decks now. But yeah, it really gave me a showing.
It was so funny when on Sunday when we were playing pre-modern, and suddenly Daniel came right to me and said, "Take a look. Breakfast is 1 eternal weekend. I have to play breakfast. Yeah, breakfast. That's so insane."
Yeah. You're basically the embodiment on jumping on the winner's train. Am I right?
Oh yes. And I love the deck as well. It's very, very cool. Yeah, I played to okay success when Stuff of the Storyteller was a nice idea of the deck before Bowmasters came out.
I mean, you went 8-1-1, I think.
7-1-1, I think, yeah, in one of the
7-1-1 for seasons, yeah.
But yeah, of course, what would be interesting to know is, well, if there was another tournament next 2 weeks or two, would you pick up the same 75? Would you change something for the deck? How would you go from here?
I would not. Probably the same 75. Perhaps actually play deferred consign over the Tamio in the board, but not sure really. Yeah, but more or less the same. It's a good deck.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
I'm only missing, I think, 2 Nadus right now and 4 Illusionists, and then I can play it myself.
Not too much. Okay, so yeah, overall it can be a very good choice in the metagame, but what we might not know is, of course, this video, when it is released, it is basically Friday of this week, so upcoming bans and restriction announcement is, of course, on the way. We want to know, of course, what is your prediction? And yeah, what would you expect will be happening on Monday?
My prediction is that they ban Frog and Bobel. What happens after that? I'm actually quite bad metagame predictor. I'm somewhat good at building a deck to beat the metagame, but so for example, when Nadu came out, I was not the person who built the best Cephalid Breakfast Nadu decks in the beginning. That's not my biggest strength.
Yeah,
but rather for this event, okay, I'm going to beat this and this. What do I need to say that?
I think exactly Frog and Bobo are one of the most spoken of cards when it comes to the announcement. So we have heard it here and there also from a lot of other people.
We are pretty hyped actually for the bans and restricted announcement. We have totally different opinions on what.
Yeah, I heard that. One of you said no bans, then.
but maybe I'm wrong. But this is just me. I'm a little bit more. I don't know. I just thought, okay, we had now Eternal Weekend America, where we had Vaccine Bubble all the way. Now, in this weekend, actually, it was of course very good, but not at the top. I kind of see that the meta is a little bit rotating, and for that reason, I thought, okay, let's maybe wait 1 or 2 months. But I can see the community, and there's different approaches to that, and I'm also fine with banning Frog, and I think it's also very likely. In honest means.
The problem, I really I think Frog is super fun. I played both to play with and actually to play against as well. I played some. I built a Phoenix Delver, which I played a little bit a few months back. With Detective Phoenix, and
I know the list.
The mini game of Bolt and what's the other red removal spell called? One that deals 6 damage if you have.
The new one.
Yeah,
I mean,
whatever.
Modern Horizons 2, am I right?
Is it galvanic
Yeah.
discharge?
No, not galvanic discharge. The one when you have the Lyrium 6.
Unholy heat.
Unholy Heat.
Yeah, exactly. But the mini game of like blocking frog, that happens as well with this deck. I block frogs quite often with Nardis and stuff, like force them to discard 4. And it's especially fun to do when you have white mana open, like really make them sweat. Am I going to discard my hand to die to a plow? But yeah. So like Frog makes for some fun games. Like there are of course games where it just runs you over, and that happens a bit too often, perhaps, and that's why it might have to go.
Yeah, it's gonna be definitely a wild future ahead of us, because like it really depends what they do. We can have like 3-4 very, very different prospects for the new meta. Do the van, like as you said, like Waxing Bauble and Frog on the forefront. There is actually also a lot of noise for banning Nado, both from a little bit power level perspective, but also for tournament integrity. Because like apparently I've read on Twitter, Nado players were the reason for the first 3 rounds that we had so much extra time, because like the combo turns in the extra turns are extremely long. But yeah, we will definitely see what the future holds on us.
Interesting times that we live in.
Yeah, I would actually not mind if Nado goes now or later, but I mean, it's like it's the most fun card to top deck yourself when you're in need of a savior. But I mean, I get that it's not perhaps the best for gameplay.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's done the job for you. Am I right?
Absolutely. Yeah. We will see what happens on the next band on our announcement on next Monday. And I think with that, we can wrap the episode up. Johan, it has been a very pleasure that we had you on the show. Thanks very much for coming and giving us some insights of your experience. Of course, one remaining question is, of course, where can people find you and reach out to you in social media?
I'm on Twitter where I'm Larsson, but I have some different letters that are numbers in my Twitter handle as compared to my Moda handle. I'm on Discord as well, where I'm Larsson with the 4 and the S and A and the O, 0 S and O. Which is my yeah.
It's probably the easiest way to pronounce this right now.
Exactly. And of course, if listeners want to look up of our podcast, it is basically at response_legacy everywhere. So on Twitter, on YouTube, on Instagram also.
And on TikTok.
On TikTok. Exactly. You can find me on Twitter there. Also, it is at Flying Delver, where I post, sometimes now in the future more breakfast related stuff probably.
I'm probably the one that posts the most. I'm at FinnickMTG, PHINEKMTG. And where can we find you, Peter?
You can find me also on x.com. I'm the one that posts the least regularly. I'm at Unicorn Lord, but the O in the Lord is a 0.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and see you next time for the next episode.
In response, the end.
This was In Response, a Legacy podcast. If you enjoyed the ride, feel free to support the show by following, leaving a review, or subscribe on patreon.com/spans_legacy.
I was actually thinking about taking a picture with Illusionist and the Nomad, and it's like, I don't eat breakfast, I serve breakfast.